Hi, welcome to the Liverpool Community Podcast. I'm your host, Chase Johnston-Lynch, here on Liverpool Online in the Big Condo Academy studios. And as you can see, I'm wearing one of our new sponsored shirts, Big Condo Academy, and everything like that. So that's our sponsor for today. But I'm joined here by a special guest, a gentleman that I've always been wanting to have a one-to-one conversation with. I've known him for some time and everything, and I really want to get deep into, what this gentleman is all about. And I'm joined here by Miguel Doforo. How you doing, Miguel?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
All right, man. All right. Miguel, I think a lot of people may have heard of you, not just as Miguel Doforo, but as the brand that you usually represent, where it went from MD Productions to MD Creators. But now, I'm just me. I'm Miguel Doforo right now.
Yeah, right now. So it's Miguel Doforo. And I'm working as a freelance creative practitioner right now. So this is probably the first time in 22 years I've been, again, out there on my own and starting out.
Now, what's interesting is that a lot of people were always talking about, starting over again. At a certain age, you decide to make a change. I'm going to start over again. But you did this on LinkedIn, which I thought was really brave and interesting that you kind of decided to say to, publicly that, what? I'm looking to make change here. I'm looking to do something different. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so, it was a matter of circumstances. We'd, evolved into MD Creatives. 4 years we've been MD Creatives. We rebranded and had some great success, but in the middle of all of this, it was COVID and a million other things. Went from 4 people to 40 people across 3 buildings, massive scale up to massively come down. And I think the pressure that I was under, and as a well-being point of view, I think that's why I wanted to be so public about it. I think I'd masked it for so long, probably about April of this year, so April 22, I was really, really struggling. And, it's okay people seeing us doing Britain's Got Talent and F1 and having a theatre and all of this stuff. But actually, you also have to share the other side. And I've always said that, because you don't just land in those positions. You have to work through blood, sweat and tears to get there. And to show both sides. People only see certain things on social media that it's great and here you are, when actually, a lot of people are struggling, and I most definitely was, and I did try to mask it for so long until my own well-being was, it was really showing. My brothers and family were saying to me, Miguel, you're vacant in the eyes, you're just not the same person. My middle brother come and had a big conversation with me about how I'd lost that creative energy, and this is someone who really cares about you, so you listen to what they're saying. And this was earlier on, as a lot of the destruction came much more after this. But my well-being was just on the floor, and I'm an advocate for people of seeking advice and support and talking about their feelings. And normally for me, I would dance mine out, but I was dead, as I just said to you. My brother had said to me, where's your creativity? And it was just I just didn't want to do it anymore, because it just grew into this thing, and I was so lost with so much pressure and not knowing which way to turn for the best. Do we stop? Do we start? Do we get help? Do we speak to someone? And I'm not a person to say I don't want to be here anymore, but that's how dark it got. For that stretch from April till August, September time of this year was horrendous. It was just so sad, in how I was feeling. I just couldn't make the right decisions. So when I made the decision to make the changes and scale back and close down, I had to tell people the honest side of financially we can't support this, the stability, I can't support it. We delivered a huge amount of community impact across the city region from 2018 to the summer just gone, massive scale ups, and I was just not in the right place, and I needed to just stop. Like, I had
you were saying it was like 2 million in social.
Yeah, so we had a social value report done, which I'm really, really proud about. And looking at something that we've been able to come out of this crisis with, is that there is a social impact report of £2.5 million worth of work that was done around therapeutic intervention, social work, free sessions, feeding the community, gifting free space, turning up and giving free performances. And you don't realise that it's that much of what you're doing in the community until someone puts a value on it. You know, I used to say, oh yeah, I'll deliver a class, it's an hour free of charge. And even if it was just an hour, it isn't just an hour session, it's the prep, you know, all of that, the stuff afterwards, report. And I absolutely love doing that type of stuff. But when you're in a dark place and there's no support and there's other cracks, and obviously we're in an economic crisis, we've just come through a pandemic, you know, it was not good at all. And as I say, I started developing this rash on my body, but I could hide that. And my mum kept saying to me all the time, you're scratching, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, oh, nothing. But it was on my body in different parts, but eventually came up my neck and onto my face, and there was no hiding it at that point. Like, literally, I was just in a mess. Like, it's loads of things of, like, you feel like a failure, like you've let people down, like shock, shame, embarrassment, all of this stuff. You know, you've been working on your hopes and dreams, and then it's like not there. But actually, speaking to the right people, you know, and not keyboard warriors, or listening to like people who don't have your best interest at heart, or don't see what you're going through. You know, I've been able to speak to some real professionals and business people and people from like the community who've supported me and been able me to look at, you know, what I tell people about a blank canvas and starting over. It's very much, I need to practice what I preach, and there's no shame in starting over. You know, I look to people like Simon Cowell, who I've spent, you know, everyone knows, a lot of time with. You know, he started over a number of times. You know, he's not the only person. You know, there's so many, and it happens in business. You look at people who have the American dream, and there's no shame over there of starting over in the culture. Like, you champion and clap for someone to like get up again, or this is what we at least see on this side of the pond. But you know, here, you know, that narrative isn't there. You know, it's like, oh, this hasn't worked and that's a failure. And actually, it's just so not. And for 22 years of me working in the community, I've been telling people, you know, they're not a failure, get up again, it's never too late, keep going, when actually it's my time to do that, you know.
No, exactly. And I mean, I think that's the important thing here is that, you know, as a person who's been working as a caretaker for other people, you know, as a shepherd in a way for other people, because you're like, you know, like me, like a teacher, where it's like you've been working with little kids, and then now you can see those little kids as parents. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And of the little kids and stuff. And in that aspect, though, is that people will see you as, oh man, he's done so much for me, and he must be so sorted, must be so great, and everything. And then they can't actually ascertain that, you know, in your own soul you have your own struggles. Absolutely, yeah. There was some people who I was close to then I'd speak to and start saying, you know, I'm in a really dark place. And for some people who I'm close to, it was hard to hear, because I'm so like normally Mr. Positive in here and fixing everyone's solutions, to say I can't go forward. Like, so I think for people who were close to me, it was quite hard for them to hear, because it's not normally the conversation I have, but it was the truth of how I was feeling. Yeah, but it's just like you would probably be listening to their problems or their situations and stuff. It's not, I mean, you know, who do you go to? It's like, it shouldn't be a problem for you to be able to share just that little bit of your own self. It's like, I'm struggling a little bit right about now. Yeah, and I think that's why I've been so open, and I will continue to be so open of it. You know, right now I'm rebuilding. That doesn't mean everything's perfect, by no means. So, you know, I will continue to share, you know, where I'm up to, what I'm doing, how I'm rebuilding, what the plans are, but at the same point, you know, cracking on with it, of what needs to be done. Now, so a part of this like new remit then that you're taking upon for yourself, you did a thing that I thought was interesting, where it's like you decided to go back to where you grew up. Go back to your community, to Netherly, and like I saw, like I think it was on Instagram, something like that. You taught a class at a place where you yourself went to school. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah. So what I'm doing right now is working as a freelance creative practitioner, and I'm collaborating on a number of different contracts and projects with different partners. That's the way I am currently moving, forward, and I'm enjoying it. It's filling my soul. But one of the things was, a girl who I've known for a while, Kelly Lawton, she reached out to me. I'd done a post that I was looking for freelance work, and she's got a project in Netherly. Well, it's across, realistically, the city region, but we're both from around that area, and we knew it needed dance in the community. And I was saying about going back to my roots and everything else, and she does some amazing work down there anyway, detached work and different projects. So we were looking for a space to deliver community dance as part of her project, and it just so happened the venue that she got was opposite to where I grew up from when I was 6 in Netherly. I started there last Wednesday, and the space we were in was where we used to go to like our youth discos, and that room felt like so big and intimidating when I was like 6 and upwards. I think we were going till we were like 12 or something. I can't quite remember, but the room seems so big. Also, we used to go to the space to do taekwondo, me and my 2 brothers. But that's where we would go to our like discos. So to go back there was really uplifting. Like, it was a real reflection point of view to when I used to, like, I was definitely not the person I am now, when we were there. I didn't even dance. I mean, there'd be like a fun dancer and things, but to say I'm a dancer, there was only like our living room or like some friends' living rooms, definitely my nan's living room, that I would ever dance in. But to, go and do a performance, it was just a no-no. So but
you were saying like you were like the wallflower. What I mean? You were like that. You were like that shy kid who was like, I mean, no.
Yeah, that's loads of different reasons. As I've been speaking about a lot more, recently, as growing up as a gay black male, that had its own contradictions anyway, and still does. But I just didn't want to stick dancer on top of anything else I was doing, so that was one of the main reasons why I never took class. I also did want to just do my own style and thing, but that was one of the reasons why, like, I'd look at other people dancing and stuff, and I just wasn't brave enough to go.
Really?
Yeah, just like not at all. My friend Lisa Gibson tried to take me to a class one time. Other than that, like, I've never been to a dance class. We went to some stuff in New York, obviously once I'd set up MD, and we went in there, and I just found it so confusing learning from someone else. And my mum was like, do you even dance? Because it was just like so lost. But now I support all our forms of dance. I do wish and it's something that I'm going to do now, is train in some other areas. I really have fell back in love with dance. But for the whole reason that I never was for that, growing up with so many labels already and trying to find your own identity, But what I used to do was I would dance in my room for like 2 hours, and then I would go out with my mates, and I would always feel uplifted. And now, obviously, I've said of late, it wasn't the tool I'd gone to. I just was dead in the water. But historically, as an adult, I would go in the studio and dance, and reflecting back to as a kid and a teenager, that's what I would do to feel good. I would create a concert in my room for 2 hours, and then I would go out with my mates, and no one would know that I danced in the room to Michael Jackson predominantly.
Well, I mean, speaking of Michael Jackson, I mean, like you were saying, like, as a shy kid, not wanting to show off your talent that you were developing. It wasn't until one particular Red Nose Day that you had performed as Michael Jackson.
Yeah, and I wish we had a video of this. So
do I. I wish, because I don't want to get demonetized by starting to hum Billie Jean. I'm pretty sure that's what the song was.
Yeah. I had a friend, Daniel, who lived on the Woodlands, and we practiced in his living room, funny enough. But it was it was our last year of juniors. to year 6. It was the year Michael Jackson came to Aintree. Maybe that's what made it. He came to Aintree. The Bad Tour wrapped up here.
Right, okay.
Like 125,000 people were at Aintree. Right. So, and it was the first year Red Nose Day ever happened. Right. And I remember getting this black leather jacket and red wool, glue, and writing bad with the wool. And
what you do to your hair, bro?
And I had hair then. High top I probably had at that point. And and I performed in school. Do you know what's funny though? And I've not really spoke about this so much, but I was so nervous to perform. But I remember when I'd come off stage and there was this lad, naming no names, and he said a comment like, we only dance like Michael Jackson because he's black. Obviously in hindsight now of where the world sits and people's perceptions of Michael. But it was just like, it was a racist comment, was when some things just stick with you in your mind, and I was just like, yeah, just absolutely not. That shouldn't have been said. Like, I picked the artist because I was massively and still am, hugely inspired by him. It was nothing to do with anyone's colour of skin or my colour of skin. But you look at, them pressures of, not wanting to dance to bring any more attention to yourself anyway. Yeah. And then someone in year 6, say that type of comment.
I would think at that time period that you're talking about, though, everybody wanted to be Michael Jackson. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm pretty sure that everybody had the white glove and the red leather jacket. So, whatever that guy is thinking. But, what I wanted to ask you was like, before I go away from it, when you went to Netherly, to teach these kids, I did ask you, it was like, because you said that you saw kids who were kids of parents that you went to school with. So what I was saying was, did you actually see any of the bullies that you had to deal with?
So no, and I kind of like floated through school. There were some people who had a lot more racist attacks than I had. There was definitely homophobia attacks, but it was clear, I suppose. But to any of those people, who were, and I think most of them groups were like older than me, at school. I was very intimidating growing up in that area. I have great fond memories and great relationships with loads of people, who I went to school with, and it was amazing to see some of those people, in the dance class that I'm now teaching their kids. But no, I didn't see anyone of,
no, it's just interesting because it's like when you do go home again, it's kind of like, if anybody ever gets to encounter, it's like really being hit by the impact of your past. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was difficult. Like it was really difficult for us, growing up, completely. So, and for loads of reasons, going back there, at that point, my mum was a single parent for us growing up. For the majority of that time until we were nearly ready to move to where my mum lives now. So there was loads of different struggles, lots of that, that you'd happened, and loads of good memories. And talking about one of the guys who does some work with me now, he came with me to the session. So I was talking him through one of my school friends who still lives around there. He walked me to school on my first day. He was 2 years above me, and I can clearly remember the first day walking to school. And there was some really good support networks like that, but you've got to look at an area that was a predominantly white area. The world is not, where it is now, even though it still has its problems. And I always say it's a lack of education. I have a huge passion for making change through equality and diversity, and for me it's about educating people. And when you from that community, our groups were so less. And then when you grow up and you move on and you're in different places, you collaborate with people in different ways or see them in different circumstances.
Yeah, no. It is true. It is true. I hear what you're saying. So, I mean, like, you said that you did something when it came down to the 20 years of the release of Thriller. You did a celebration performance. But, like, I think you were saying that soon we'll be hitting 40 years, believe it or not.
Yeah.
40 years of the release of Thriller. But I asked you, were you planning on doing something? You said, yeah.
Yeah, so, we performed, obviously, for Michael Jackson when it was 20 years of Thriller. And then when we went on BGT in 2007, we got to the semis and done Thriller. So everyone's always said, can we have the Thriller dancers? Can we have the Thriller dancers? And every Halloween especially, it's my favourite time of year. And anyone who dances for me, it seems to become their favourite time of year. Everyone loves it. We're in the midst of it right now. And we're known for doing, that dance. So many people had reached out to us. They'd started asking us a couple of months back, and I'd completely closed down at that point. So the idea of doing any type of performances was a no. Like, a lot of the work that was coming through, I wasn't in the mindset, to do. But in a different space, right now. So I've been reaching out to people who had already contacted us, etc., and saying, actually, we do have a group and they're going to be available. So it's going to be nice to be doing performances to celebrate that album. I look forward
this year,
to.
Or?
Yeah, so
wow,
yeah,
this year is 40 years?
Next month. Yeah, so all of the build-up is happening now across their social medias and everything else. Yeah, there's a re-release of the album coming out, there's a documentary, there's so much stuff that is happening.
Well, I can imagine. 40 years. I mean, I actually can remember, I can take my mind back to when I saw the John Landis movie on television in my house, in the living room, when I was living in New York and everything, for when Thriller came out, and being amazed. So I'm just like, yes, I am that old. So either way you look at it is that, so with all the work you've been doing with MD, like you said, like I don't think we made it clear that you made your way from Liverpool to St. Helens.
So we were in Liverpool, but the landlord that I've been working with in St. Helens, I seen his number. So I originally started on Denham Road as our first rented space. We began in Mannix on Wavertree Road, Picton Road, but we started as our first studio on Denham Road, and that was our home. So when we were coming out to Liverpool and all the change was happening, I drove down Denham Road and seen a sign that said Luxor, and I love Egypt, and I've
been to Luxor twice.
Yeah, and I got great memories of Denham Road. Fantastic. So I was on that street, seeing that sign, called him, and he was like, we don't have anything in Liverpool, we have something in St. Helens. And that's how I ended up there. I'm not no stranger, to St. Helens. I'd worked with the council prior. We'd done like Christmas lights turn on when we come off Britain's Got Talent. I'd worked on a Ways to Work project. A couple of different schools had worked up there. And my partner, he's from Rainford. So I'd been going up and down to St. Helens for 20 years. But in terms of operating a business there, it was brand new. So our landlord showed me the space, and when I went in it just felt like home, and it reminded very much of Denham Road. So that's how I ended up in St. Helens 4 years ago.
Wow. And one space turns into three.
Yeah, and that's what started, the trajectory of growth and of scaling up, and that's kind of what went wrong. We went too big too fast without the infrastructure of needing to, I say, as the business owner of that, the buck stops with me. You have to hold yourself accountable regardless of a team that's worked for you, or problems that would have happened, or funding changes, whatever. Ultimately the buck stops with me. So that is where, as far as that conversation goes, it's me. So the scale up, was my decision, and working with different partners, and we scaled up and we went from one building to three in St. Helens, and it seemed like a really good idea. Even though we were in the middle of COVID, we seemed to feel like it was could work, but ultimately never, and the fall from that was huge, because
that's part of the drain on your soul.
Yeah, all of that, it was just, the failure of it, and obviously, people's opinion. Of course, now where to sit, and the space I'm in, real valuable lessons, not to be done again. I do have the strength to start over, and there's lots of building blocks from that crumbling down, for me to step on to build. But, when you're in the midst of it, definitely, I wouldn't have been having this conversation at all, to be trying to say, oh yeah, I can see a light and here we are. That definitely wasn't the point of view. So the fall was just so big, because everything was on like an amazing energy. If you go to like 2020 and 21, it was really, really positive. And then just anything that could go wrong went wrong. And as I say, as the business owner, you hold yourself accountable. But I also, in saying that, then gives me the right to start over and rebuild and do it again.
It did last for 4 years, though, didn't it?
In the most difficult times, the world has ever faced. Yeah, it was 4 years of being there.
But I mean, can I just say that's 4 years of supporting dreams of young people.
Yeah.
4 years of trying to build something within the community creatively. Yeah. 4 years of giving back. So I mean, hey, listen, no judgment here. I'm just saying, somebody has made the attempt to do something more than other people have. And it's a shame now, in the sense where these things had to, wrap up or go on hiatus, because now that St. Helens, as you say, is becoming the borough culture next year.
Yeah, which is really exciting. I'm so passionate about St. Helens. The people there and people who we've worked with and everything else, has really welcomed us, and I do many different things here, and long may it continue, and I see a huge vision for St. Helens. Yeah, it's Borough of Culture next year, and I talk, people always say, oh, like, shops are empty and this and that, and I say, this is a blank canvas, to start and pulling the right people together. And, if you look at areas in Liverpool now that you never would have dreamt people would have had businesses, bars, creative spaces, hubs. It's bustling with, when I started out in my business in 2001, there's areas that you just wouldn't have imagined are that are thriving now. And that is, hospitality, culture, creativity, community, all that vibrancy. Has pulled that together. So that's what I see, in St. Helens. And when you see these blank spaces or things closing, with the right people and stuff, and it's happening, people coming together. I'm a huge advocate for the town and its people. Great community of people who I work with. And when you bring those creatives and like-minded people together, it's magic, and that's what I hope we can do there, is connect the dots, of that. So yeah, especially with it being Borough of Culture, I work a lot with the art steering group around the plans for Borough of Culture next year, and it's really exciting. It's just unfortunate it's a time when we've just come out of a pandemic. There is an economic crisis ahead of us and all of this, but also when things like that are happening, it's arts and culture, music, fashion that bring things to life. So hopefully we can bring that colour and energy to when it's a difficult time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've been having a lot of conversation about, MD and about Miguel Doforo and everything else like that. But also, too, is that you're taking on, again, another new role as, the station director of KCC Live.
Yeah.
And I mean, now this is a huge task in itself, but also too is that, not to say too much about it, but it's in a period of change at the moment, because they just received their AB license and stuff like that. So I think you want to say something about the change that is coming for KCC.
Yeah. So I've been a presenter on the station for about 5-6 years, and then the opportunity came in as the station director. But with the pandemic and changes and everything else, I don't feel like I've been able to do what I wanted to do there, and now is the time, so we're going through a restructure right now, of people who want to be involved for the new vision for KCC. I really want it to be an active voice for the community. I love that it can play music of up-and-coming artists. It's still got that platform of people who are trying to break through, as well as the other amazing things that it does. And it's built on a huge history, and it's how now we take it to the next level with new collaborative partners, a new team in there. And I feel like now this is the period of change. Over these next 4 weeks, we're going to be making some changes. I've brought in a station manager, Canella, who was brilliant. I put it out to, after our previous station manager is just featuring on the board now. We were looking for a station manager and also new people who wanted to get involved, and Canella come forward, and I've loved his energy from the beginning. So it's about that rebuilding. We're starting that relationship now and pulling in, looking at the schedule and everything else. And obviously come January is the DAB license. So this period now, between now and January, is really about rebuilding that infrastructure. It's funding, its schedule, and the branding. All of that is what we're going to do in these next coming weeks up to the launch of the DAB.
Yeah, it's a fascinating idea, because KCC Live has been around for ages.
Yeah.
And it's constantly evolving, but it's a part of the community in that aspect. So it sounds exciting times. Also, like to just also say that, I have a show on KCC Live, with my partner Phil, who's on the decks right now, who can't seem to keep his mouth shut. But but television, hey, watch it out. But see, the way you look at it is the fact that I'm just excited about what's happening with KCC Live and with the plans and what's going on. As you just said, Gail saying, hey, I have a show on there too, eventually.
Yeah, I'm going to be back on there soon. That's the whole problem with change, though, isn't it? That's what you're doing. Back. It's like when you got to come in, you have to keep making the changes. Absolutely,
you got to get it all structured out, isn't it? And stuff, but it's an amazing thing. So that's the thing to look out for. So pretty much it's like, how can people? Because as you advertised, as your friend, got in touch with you about the freelance thing, like how can people contact you? Because you're still looking for more stuff, I think. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. I just want to broaden my horizons now, and I'm kind of on my own self journey. Obviously, rebuilding and repairing a lot of mistakes, along the way is what my plan is right now. But also looking at what is this new future and what does that look like, and how can I build on it? So very active on social media, so people can find me on all of the social media platforms. Just search my name, Miguel Doforo, and it's across all of them. It's the same thing everywhere. I'm in the middle of developing migueldoforo.com, so our website and everything there around our freelance work. I'm working on an education program right now with an amazing organisation called Power in Partnership in Halton, delivering on their training programs, and which is going amazing. And then they can email me so it's Miguel at migueldoforo.com. I nearly forgot then. Just as simple as that. But social media is obviously the easiest way. We're using all of the platforms, and just rebuilding the journey. I am renting space at what is known now as the Art Centre, as myself.
That's like one of the last of the three buildings, isn't it?
Yeah. So working with our current landlord there to get me off the ground and start and just trying to make it work over, starting over, just taking each day as it comes. But I'm enjoying working at other organisations. I think my plan moving forward will be very much about collaborative work. So my team will be more of collaborators, of professionals who have got their own businesses, organisations. You know, they've been in the sector for however how long of what we choose to work with, and we will come together around the table to piece the jigsaw together, and that will enable me to not have all of the responsibility, but also enable me to do what I set out into the industry to do, to create and play to my strengths.
You're like the glue, man. You're like the eye of the storm. You know, you love like having that like creative circle around you. That's what I really like. Yeah. You know, where collaboration is the key. 100%. You know, and you know, partnerships. You're also like looking for partnerships, as you say. You got a partnership with the DWP, so it's like you know, coming up. So I mean, amazing things for a person who, I'm not going to say sounded sad on LinkedIn, but like I mean, it's like that. It sounds to me so uplifting that you were able to like share or shed of yourself to get to this point, because if you didn't, where would you be then? Absolutely. You know, and it just felt like, you know, that has really helped in moving forward in sharing it. It was because honest. Yeah, I just had to be, because as I said earlier on in this, you know, it's okay posting Britain's Got Talent and F1 and all of these things, but the reality of having your own business and in the world today is extremely difficult. But also, you know, people can start over, because what else am I supposed to do? You know, but having these if you were having this conversation with me a couple of months ago, you know, you wouldn't have been getting this. I just wanted to stay in bed, you know. I just was like, I can't face this. But I actually couldn't stay in bed and do that, because there was, you know, people you'd have to face and things that you'd have to do. So in a way, the pain of what I was going through, and that I had to deal with things, and, you know, going to a theatre to clients that had booked the show and whatever else, you know, I suppose helped me not lay in the bed even though I wanted to. And I felt like I was flat dead and numbing it when I was in work anyway, but I was still up and out. So I think that helped, I suppose. And then being so honest of it, you know, you can start over and build better, you know, from the experience. And I think, you know, not avoiding the conversation and having the honest conversations, you know, of what has happened and what you need to do to repair, I think is what pushes you forward. I think avoiding it, you know, is not healthy at all. Yeah. And, you know, you need to step forward into it. You know, you have to go through it, not round it, to get through to the other side. And that's kind of where I am right now. And looking at this wall, it's kind of like, I say, like brick by brick and step by step, you know, I'm laying the first brick of what is to be next. And I'm really grateful to people who've reached out and had honest conversations with me, you know, some things that I've needed to hear. And it's come from the right place, you know, of encouragement and and support. Yeah. Which I'm really lucky to have, you know, those people around me. So I'm on for the next. As I say, I've laid the first brick, very much reflecting on what has happened, not avoiding it. You know, anyone who's needed to come and ask me any questions, or, you know, what are you trading as now, or what's happened here, if you want to know, ask me, you know. Yeah. But right now I am building anew as myself. It will be migueldoforo.com, and I'm going back to the beginning. And I think going back to Neville to teach a dance class, I couldn't go any more back to the beginning than that. Well, you know, it's kind of like a term I love called back to square one. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure the next new shining spire that we see will be Miguel Doforo. You know, I just want to thank you very much for joining me here in the studio, Miguel, and being honest and sharing of your story and everything like that. I'm Chase Johnston-Lynch. You've been listening to the Liverpool Community Podcast, sponsored by Big Condo Academy here at Liverpool Online. And you know what? For now, we out of here. Peace.